Hey, hey, AP Computer Science. We're looking at haveThree this time. HaveThree is a tricky one because it's kind of doing again two things at once. One of the things is you're adding up how many threes there are, and the other one is making sure that those threes are not next to each other. That's sort of the question. It's like return true if there are three threes, looking for three threes, and that they're not ever side by side in the array. So this is true. This one's false, and it's false because although there are three threes, these two threes are touching each other. So we have at least one thing in between each three. So here's my solution. I have a variable for counting threes, and I just recorded nums.length as a variable this time. We can make it even shorter than that. Most people use len, but my name is Len, so it's weird for me. But it does make for shorter code if you use len. I don't know. I gotta get over that. That's not a big deal. Doesn't. Who cares? No worries. I noticed that if it's less than 5, the length, that this isn't. There's no possible way to have three threes that aren't touching each other. So I just automatically return false, and that way it just kind of covers a bunch of edge cases. If there's nothing in the array, it's an empty array or something like that, then that solves it. And here's my loop. It's basically a for loop that goes from the beginning to not quite the end, like one less than the end. So, and I'm going to be looking at two at a time. I'm going to look at these two, and then these two, and then these two, and then these two. So I have to stop, -2 from the length to make sure I don't go out of bounds. And basically, I just look and see if I have two threes while I'm looking at that. If I do, false. It's just guaranteed false. If I find two threes side by side, no. The answer is no. It did not work. And then otherwise, I just add up threes as I find them. And it's okay that I'm sort of doing, I'm not really checking too carefully about this three, because if I ever find two threes together, like all my adding will be forgotten. It won't really affect anything because I'll just have returned false right away. But if I never return false, then I really just have to add up how many threes I have. So that's good. And then unfortunately, I have to do this little check at the end where, if I had to look at the last element to see if that's a 3, the way I'm doing things, I have this sort of checking 2 at a time concept, like I and I plus 1, and then checking the current number. And so for threes, and so then like this prevents me from getting I to be the last number because I'm doing 2 at a time, right? So I is 0, and I check those two. I is 1, I check these two. I is 2, I check these two. I is 3, I check those two. But I can't go into here because I don't want to check beyond the bounds of the array, so that I kind of don't get a chance to add this 3. I do get a chance to check if there's two threes at the end. That's what this does, but I don't get a chance to do this. So I just have a tacked on at the end, like, hey, let's just check the last one as well. And then I can return if this will be true if I found three threes, and it'll be false otherwise. So I'll just return that because if I got to this line of code, that means there were no threes that were side by side. So then that's the only other thing to check. There it is. Hope that made sense. If not, ask me lots of questions, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, AP Scholars.